All right, here we are with part four of our grandfather's unedited disclosure project testimony from 2000. And in this final section, you're going to see Nancy Red Star talk about the Brotherhood Lodges and some of the occult secret societies that were very prevalent in Nazi Germany back in World War II. Our grandfather's going to talk about the Knights Templar and the Masons. He's also going to talk about Russia's involvement with the UFO topic, and he's going to talk about some directed energy weapons that our government had back then. And his testimony is from 2000. So this technology existed in the 90s and the 80s, eventually before then. But it's basically weather manipulation. And he talks about how they are able to heat up the ionosphere to create storms, change weather patterns, make hurricanes, earthquakes, even start fires. So they have this technology more than 25 years ago. Just imagine in the last 25 years how much it may have advanced since then. So pretty mind-blowing stuff. Really cool to see him disclose this information, which I don't think those details were necessarily in his book. So check it out. We hope you enjoy it, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Stephen, Dr. Greer asked me, sort of in a very general sense, the reason I asked you about abductions is he seemed to have some knowledge of a subject area that you might have had something to do with, but I guess he was in error there.
No, I've been to conferences,
Okay.
where people would say.
I think what he's talking about is...
But personally, I know of nobody that claimed it.
An event took place in 1989 where a number of world leaders, including the Secretary General of the United Nations, claimed, Bud Hopkins published a book about this alleged abduction that took place that involved Secretary General Uthot. And George Bush was involved with this as well as President Gorbachev. Do you have any knowledge of that?
No, I don't. I have no personal knowledge of that. Now, I've heard that, even before it appeared in his book, I've heard that, but I have no personal knowledge of that.
Okay. I don't know where Dr. Greer got that you would somehow...
Oh, John Mack, maybe. He's an abduction specialist.
Yeah. Well, there's a reason for that. The suspicion is that was a military abduction masquerading as ET for geopolitical reasons.
I'd never even heard about that myself.
Okay. You've got several chapter titles here, Nancy. The Black Manta, Encounters the Vatican, the UMO Confederation. All of these you're going to be dealing with in your book. And if you and Daniel want to address any of these issues in specificity, this would be a time to do that.
Well, most of the, all I really had to offer for at this point was summaries of some of those things, which he's pretty much covered, except for
Black Manta?
No, the Brotherhood Lodges.
Oh,
Oh, okay. Yeah, that's a major issue.
I would like to read this,
Okay.
if I can.
Go ahead.
Because I think it's really pertinent to one of the things that is going to send people into a paradigm panic is this relationship with this. Evil as Adolf Hitler was, he could not have come to power if he were not fanatically supported by many other key leaders who have orchestrated what we call history. The brotherhood of this global web of secret societies was and still is supported by a phenomenal amount of technological genius. A collective genius which led directly to the post-World War II space programs, of which both the United States and the Soviet Union excelled. This also included genetic engineering, mind control, and psychic phenomena, all for the New World Order. Because in the continuum of World War II, hundreds of Nazi scientists were transferred with special privileges to secret laboratories in both the United States and the Soviet Union. In the Brotherhood and within their symbols and language echoes, we control all that is just, all that is right, all that is fair. But one must ask, Who controls the free energy technology within the UFO electromagnetic propulsion systems? That goes right into the Star Wars directive.
Right. Okay. Yeah, that we're very interested in all of that.
Should I read that?
Go ahead, read that,
Okay.
and then we'll ask Dan about specifics.
Okay. The Star Wars directive. In Star Wars, which is known within the military as the Spaceship Defense Initiative, what is the prime directive? You will not interfere with an emerging population or race of people. To understand this, you must go back into the Star Wars records of the past 50 years, from 1947 to 1997. Tales from the corridors of an agency so secret that officially it didn't exist. In the analysis of the Star Wars City Spaceship Defense Initiative organization posted as Skywatch, there is identified the 1010 Special Security Squadron, which bypasses the Air Force and reports directly to the National Reconnaissance Office, UFO cover-up, and to MAGI, MJ-12, the UFO Policy Group. Cosmic Q, level 33, above top secret, is MAGI. Level 32 is MJ-12. MJ-12 takes the subject of UFOBs, extraterrestrial technology, and extraterrestrial biological entities very seriously, and considers the entire subject to be a matter of the highest national security. And that comes out of the Majestic 12 Group Special Operations Manual.
Which, of course, is in dispute because we can't verify it to be legitimate. It's being researched currently.
Yeah.
Okay. Dan, concerning the secret brotherhood lodges and their historical connection to the exploitation of this kind of technology, what can you tell us?
Well, you probably heard the Knights Templar. Okay. It is said by even people that remember that the Masonic Lodge came out of the Knights Templar. Now, the Knights Templar, they're good guys and they're bad guys. You know, during the Crusades, the Knights Templar, a lot of them was hospitallers for the Crusaders going to the Holy Land. And they were given a lot of money, a lot of castles that they turned into fortresses. And some have even said they, for years was responsible for securing the Ark of the Covenant. And if you will look at London and at Paris and at Washington, they're all laid out the same way. And Ike, who nobody can find right now, has put a book, The Greatest Secret, and he's explained all about how there's an obelisk. Now, two of them, one in Paris and one in London, came from Egypt. But we have the Washington Monument as our, which is the biggest of all. The way the cities are laid out are very similar, and they were built, important buildings were built on ancient sacred sites in all three of those cities. And they are part of the group, as John Goodman says, the 300 that controls the world. They decide when there's going to be a war, who's going to be in it, and who's going to win. And they do that by not having somebody unlike fight somebody that's totally different. Like a good guy fight a bad guy. For example, which he will give you this example. We had a Stalin, leaving concentration camps, getting rid of people. We had a Hitler, leaving concentration camp, getting rid of people. Slavery, both of them did that. Both of them was total dictators. There's a great similarity to those two. Well, we didn't have, say somebody that did not believe in war fighting somebody that believed in war, because the guy that doesn't believe in war just won't do it. He'll suffer, But they had two, enemies that were using the same methods and really that ultimately believed in the same thing. So I believe there are lodges. I believe, fact is, according to the FBI report, the greatest threat they have and that they have to monitor now is Satanism and cults. So I believe that's still a danger, but I'm a born-again Christian, so I believe that we have free will, which I believe, and they've told me, the people that talk to me tell me that free will is not all through the universe. People are controlled from the day they're born until they leave. But we're unique in having free will. And everybody else seems to be interested in us to see what we will do with that free will now. Because there are things coming that if, like I say, our government doesn't tell us, they're going to tell us. And we're going to have to make decisions to rise to a higher consciousness.
Okay. I think we're sort of winding down on the formal structure here, and that's fine. We got a lot of important things said. Another issue that you do have here is the Russian UFO files for sale. What do you know specifically about the dissolution of the Soviet Union and their UFO files?
Russia went broke, and they claim we broke them because we cut them off from the World Monetary Bank. And we told anybody that gave them money and helped them, so on and so forth, that we was going to cut them off, so no one would loan them money. And Gorbachev, he announced on TV to the president, he says, "You broke us with Star Wars. Whether you had it or not, you would say you had it, and we'd send billions of dollars, and we'd have to borrow it, and we was developing the same thing, or trying to develop the same thing you was developing." And that broke us, because we'd had 5-year, 10-year, 20-year plans. All our crops was even mortgaged to who we was borrowing the money from. And so you broke us financially. And that's turned out to seem to be true. And so who's our enemy now? Now, some would like for us to believe and like to develop the idea that the aliens and people are our enemy now. But that's not true. There is no proof that I have ever read in any official document where, unless they were attacked, that they ever shot down. And now, one incident I'll tell you about as far as Russia is concerned. Now, this is an admiral who has a son that's a MiG pilot in their Air Force. We had an F-18. Now, up in Alaska, we used to go to war quite often. They'd send their Badgers and their Beavers out. They'd send their MiGs out, and we would, the 21st Fighter Squadron in Alaska, flying top cover, as they would say, they'd go up and intercept them. And they were all armed. But fortunately, nobody fired. And so our controller saw when this 18 and the MiGs are mixing up, 2 MiGs, that there was another ship moved in. The Russians, and he was listening to the Russians tell them, intercept that ship. They referred to it as ship because it wasn't anything we knew or the Russians knew. And so the 2 MiGs started intercepting. Our guy was told by our controller, "Get out of there, stay in view, but don't you try to intercept that ship." And so immediately, as soon as the Russian fighters turned on their armament and picked him up, they were both destroyed just like that, one after the other. Our guy wasn't shot at, and he come on back home. That's the reason we have the film. So, and that was by a 2-star, Russian general that told that story. And they also interviewed the admiral whose son, he had told that story to him.
What do you know about Star Wars, SDI, ballistic missile defense, space weapons being used against extraterrestrials?
The Russians intercepted one, and somebody told them to fire on it. But then the order is immediately countermanded. But before they could cancel the order, there's one guy had already released his missile, and it was immediately destroyed. So near the missile launcher, the MiG that launched the missile, they destroyed it so quick that it wasn't out of the range of damaging the plane that fired it, and it was damaged.
Do you think that our government is building weapons that are intentioned to be used against ETs?
I think the aliens are aware that we're trying to do that.
Could you elaborate?
Well, I think our government, is communicating with some guys that have our best interests at whatever, hard or what, their intention. And there's some that don't care. Their way, there's some Hitlers there probably, maybe. But like the international, like you see on that, they're not supposed to interfere, and they're usually, prevented from a source from Orion of interfering with us. But we have free will, and, we have a choice. And some of them don't. So if some of those guys lock up on us sometimes, we're going to have a defense. Now, I'll tell you, we do have a defense. We're capable of shooting some down. We've developed that ability.
Is there any indication by your background and knowledge that the ET presence on Earth is being used covertly to stimulate weapons development in the United States?
Well, Eisenhower warned the United States public, don't let the military and the industrial, weapons builders get in power. He always feared that. And if you look at his last speech, he said that to the public. Don't let them become too powerful. So, we better wake up. Now, do I know personally? Well, you've probably heard of HARP. Okay. Now, what we was looking for in HARP was over the horizon radar. So, it works something like this. In radar was always my specialty. You take up to 6 acres and you put antennas that go straight up in the sky. Now what you're trying to do is make the air in our ionosphere so thin that it will not support anything, any prop different, no jet, will burn, no engine will run because it doesn't have enough air. Okay? Now, we did that. We projected a mirror, electronic mirror, where when the beam comes from the ground up and hits the HARP mirror, we can tilt it so we could look over the horizon radar, see? But sometimes we build things that have side effects that we don't know about. And we're, of course, always looking for a weapon. So we found that we could control climatology. What happens if you heat up the ionosphere? Well, you're going to change something, right? What happens if you have a way of adjusting that on a particular spot on the Earth? Okay, then you could burn up a country. Now you could. We found that if you pointed it at troops, it would make them kind of, lethargic. They wouldn't care to do what they was ordered to do for their whatever purpose. And we had to try it out to see if it worked. Well, we did. And it works. We found we could make earthquakes. We could heat up the ocean and make it heated up. The area above it would heat up. It would change the wind patterns. It also changed the ocean patterns of flow of the weather and everything. So we could decide, okay, we can make a storm for this country or make it dry over this country. So we could really become climatologists. We have that power. I think people should know that. Now, we was looking for a weapon, and there's several weapons can be developed out of that power.
Okay. Leslie, do you have any questions? Rob,
Well,
any
except
questions?
he did mention earlier that we covered it, that we shot down a UFO.
Ah, okay. Specifics on incidents that you know of in where we shot down UFOs.
We've tried to shoot down several,
10 minutes? Okay.
But we've been successful. They crashed in White Sands, New Mexico.
Could you go into details?
I don't know who did it. I don't have any names or anything, but we tracked it. We were tracking it at the time, and we were successful in damaging it enough where it crashed. And yes, there were some aliens on it. Yes, we got them.
Do you know what year it was?
About 68 or 69, about the same time the South Africans did it. After all, South Africa likes it or not, but that's where they got the pulse beam weapon.
The what?
The pulse beam weapon. They shut it down with.
Okay. I'm questioned out at the moment.
Can you just, it probably won't even end up, probably not in there, but I would like to mention the book we're working on.
Go right in.
Huh?
Yeah, that's the time.
But I don't think it really is going to make a lot of difference because I don't think it'll end up in there anyway.
Well,
But we should say it.
Think beyond,
say it. Go
ahead. All right.
beyond a single television show. This is
Yeah.
a huge project.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, I should. I'm kind of like burnt out, to tell you the truth,
Me too.
right now. I interviewed Dan for the third book in a series which is called Star Ancestors because he has Comanche ancestry. In the first two books of Star Ancestry, I interviewed Indian people about the relationship that we have with extraterrestrials, which goes back thousands of years. And I traveled from North, South, and Central America, collecting and documenting. The reason I started that project was I was one of the producers of the Roswell event that culminated in it was debauched after the Heaven's Gate mass suicide, alleged. And but I had already started interviewing elders, and so I just continued on that and got a publisher. And I interviewed Dan for the third of that series, which is Japanese people, African Americans, Australian, Anglo, Celtic, all of the races. I decided that because of the nature of the information he had, it was a book unto itself. And it was evident that he had more information than. So we embarked upon this book called Truth or Consequences, the secret international UFO military files. This is the book that we are working on together. And these are the craft that were done on the radar at Warner Robins, Georgia. It's the secret international UFO military files. And so we're actually going to the German bookmark, and we're going to have a separate publisher in Germany, and then we will have an American publisher as well.
Let me just say, Germany is so much freer than we are. Germany, France, and Spain have all admitted this. Mm-hmm. And Australia, they admitted a whole lot. And in South Africa, they put it out there for the world to see. So what are we doing? We don't have a threat from Russia anymore. But if we keep shooting at those aliens, we might have a threat from them. We should quit that. We should demand our government stop trying to shoot down those aliens. We should cooperate.
Excellent statement. That statement, I assure you, will get in. Anything that does those kinds of statements get in.
Good.
Now, I want you to ask us, what I've told you, is it going to make any difference in your life? You better wake up, better change, get interested, changing your life.